So this is the bank deposit. So you would do a deposit for each. And again, that's once these 2 or 3 chart of accounts are set up, the transaction journal, you can see that once it loads, it just shows the T-chart behind the deposit, and this should be correct. It debited the trust account, the actual trust checking account, and it credited the liability. So it raised them both, which you'd want, right? Now, you could do, when you go to the chart of accounts, so I'm trying to think, well, so how do you see it by customer, this kind of retainer or funds in escrow? We can either view the register or look at the balance for the funds held in escrow account. So you would see, it's just not liking that without the number, right? So you'd see the balance. But if you wanted to see it by customer, because I can't see that at the chart of account level by customer, if I was to run a report, like a quick report on the account, then I could add
that's good.
Customer. So I get rid of memo, unless you put something in memo, but I could add customer, and there's other columns too. You can add cleared, amount balance, or debit, credit, what have you. And then, so I see that the customer's Aaron, and I could move the columns to, I don't know where, if it would be customer, as well as I can total by. So I would see a total for each customer, like you'd have Aaron, Beth, Woody, Josh, right, and all the current amounts in the other current liability account, which we're using for the funds held in trust.
Yeah. Now we're going to use Clio for our practice management.
Clio.
It'll be all associated with Clio too, right?
Yeah, Clio works great. That's kind of like, it's Clio and Lien Law are the 2 main ones that I've heard of that work for law firms. Clio, I know, does a lot of time entry, but are you going to be doing any accounting in Clio, like for the trust or the transactions? Because doesn't Clio handle some of the law firm transactional workflow?
No, we're going to do all the accounting through QuickBooks.
Okay. So Clio's just for project management and maybe time entry?
Right, for time entry, correct.
And Clio would send the time to the weekly timesheet in QBO as well.
Right.
Not that you see the cost of that until you put it on a posting document, but other reports too. And then we'll move on to the other piece of this, which is the client hard costs on invoice.
Okay.
The other reports that would be helpful, the standard reports, since your clients are your customers, and you can change the name of the label to client if you want from customer. There's some AR reports, open invoices or whatever, but also your sales by, which would look at sales receipts and invoices, or the customer record itself. I'm trying to think of other reports that would be like specific for law firms.
Okay.
Some expense reports. Well, maybe we can come back to the reporting depending. This person who wrote the article said that there's here's the thing I'm trying to follow, trust bank, funds held in trust, and the total individual client fund balance with ledger detail. She says she memorizes these reports, but she's building them from something else and just choosing the columns and filtering them and then saving the customizations and calling it, funds held in trust report or total of individual. Okay. So it is possible there, and this person who wrote the article is using QBO.
Okay.
So plus to be specific.
Yeah. So that report you showed us that just listed the amount that Aaron had in the trust account, that would, with all of the, clients, that would be that individual client fund balance report, basically. It would list all the accounts that are still, or the clients that still have funds in those trust accounts.
Right, and all I'm doing, literally, Beth, is a quick report like you would in desktop, but I'm just like going to the chart of account and then clicking the drop-down arrow, click on run report, and then adding customer, and then group by customer. And then it would just be, the rows would all be the clients of Judy's firm, and then she would see the corresponding balances. And there's a bunch of other columns you could turn on or off depending on, what you need to see. That would probably be a main report because that would be kind of ledger detail. A summary report, there would be, again, you could always drill down on the other current liability from the balance sheet, right, and do the same kind of thing. It's still a transaction detail report.
Yeah, but it would show, would it not show if you ran it by customer, then it would show the the client or the matter and the balance in the trust by client. So that's probably the route they'd have.
Probably the right one. Okay, let me go back and do that, and I will save this one. So again, you would just go to the chart of account, run report.
Okay.
And then it wouldn't show customer yet. It would just show like date, transaction number, name, memo. But you're going to click the little gear icon.
Right.
And get rid of, now you might use memo for something, I don't know. I saw in the KB article that she did list, she used memo for something that was a determining metric in reporting, but I don't know. And you just check on and off what you need, and then definitely add customer, and then move the, I don't know where it would land in the row of columns, so I'm not really sure. But I guess there it is. Oh, I guess name's already on here. So you could do group by name and not add customer. That'd be fine too. Let me get rid of customer because I didn't realize it's already here. Name, and then I group by name. So Aaron's there. So if I make another deposit, and then I'm going to save this report just for now. We'll just call it, funds held in trust. And I'll just save it for now because then I don't have to recreate it next time. If I was to go in and do another deposit, because you got other clients and they're coming in, ABC trust account, and that was Aaron. This will be Adam by cash. I don't know, 2,500. You could put in a description because description shows up in reports too. So here could be, since you're not using items for the services, you could put in whatever you think is pertinent, because then I could add a description.
Yeah, retainer or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then when I go back to this report, see, now I see Adam and Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would just go all the way along. So this one might be one of the main reports, and you can always go in here also and change this to, current funds or something. I don't know.
Right.
You all will come up with the correct industry-specific language, right?
Yeah.
Current funds held in trust. And then you just save the customization, save, okay. So then Judy, if you weren't the one running it, but someone else was, and they didn't really know the process, they could just go to the report list, click on custom reports because you shared it with everybody, and you could even add it to a group, or it would just be here, and I could say, oh, look, funds held in trust ledger, cool, and then you run it, and it would show, this is showing, well, I could show this month or, however you want to do it. There's a lot of different date ranges, all dates, this year to date, last quarter, today, you can just change the date. And this is what is still in the escrow account for Aaron and Adam as of today.
As of today, right. Okay.
And then now I guess the other part was writing, before we get to client hard costs and the invoices, was writing like checks against it for whatever reason, right? So that maybe you can explain more, like when would you use a check for disbursements? Like what would be a typical scenario?
Well, like when we do real estate closings.
Okay.
We get a lot of money in and then we have to disperse it all out.
So who would be the payee?
It could be the seller. We could be paying off a mortgage.
Okay.
Clerk of court for recording. There'll just be,
Now, is that a vendor for you, or is it a customer?
That would be a vendor.
Okay. Would you be using then the trust account to write it out of?
The trust account, yep.
Okay. So then you probably would have several, or Beth would set up several, trust account, bank accounts for you. But the category would be the funds held in trust, I think.
Well, it would be one trust bank account.
Okay.
But we would, have multiple deposits and multiple payments.
Okay. Yeah. So either way, you could write a check or a credit card expense or something, or debit card expense. You use the expense form. They're all going to look the same with this top section and the bottom section. So you have the payee, with typically the vendor, of course, and then you'd have the asset account, where I usually use company checking. You're actually using one of the trust accounts. And then down here, it's really up to you all what you're going to use. You're not going to use items, and you can even actually turn items off from checks. That's a setting, so you don't even have to see it. It's really just category or account. We mean account here, chart of accounts. So I guess this question is for you or Beth regarding, do you write it against the other current liability here, or is this just a COGS account or expense or something else?
Reduces current liability.
Yeah. Yeah, reduces the current liability.
Okay, got it. So then this is what that would do. Let's say it was $1,000 to the Auburn Hills vendor. So this is going to credit the trust account, and then it's going to debit the liability, which would reduce it. You
And
know what I
then
mean?
in the customer field, you would put Aaron in there. Say it's part of that
Exactly.
5,000 that we're going to use of his funds.
Right. And I probably
Okay.
use this description too. You know, and I don't know what you guys put in the description field, but Aaron Burhanu, disbursement.
We would put like recording fees or something like
Okay,
that.
okay, right. Okay, so this would be the check. And again, if I just, let me save and close it and just go back so you can see from a T-chart perspective
Right.
what's happening. Transaction journal. So I credited the trust account. We're taking funds out of it,
Right.
the bank account, and then we're also reducing, because a debit to another current liability reduces it. So we're
Right.
reducing the liability account, which is a fund held in escrow, and the memo description is Aaron. So now if we go back to that report I had, this funds held in trust ledger, we have a check written against.
So we really need not, do need not the other field, the customer column in there.
I guess we do need it.
Yeah, to show that that's for Aaron.
Where are you? Yep. And I'll move that.
Okay.
I don't. Again, you guys decide where you want customer.
Yeah.
I'll just, and I don't even know if you need number or what have you. But there's a bunch of columns, right? You can add.
Right.
You could even do a debit credit if you want instead of amount balance. You could just get rid of amount and do balance, or.
Okay. So then, is there any way to show a report that would say Aaron has a balance of 4,000 and Adam has 2,500, and not show the detail of the transactions, but just a total by customer?
The summary? Yeah, let's see if that's going to be harder. P&L by customer, no. No, because it's mostly balance sheet activity. Like, I know there's customer balance summary, but that's really using invoices and stuff.
But that should still, let's see what that tells us, just because.
For today. Aaron.
Oh, it's got a bunch of other stuff.
Let me filter by Aaron. So this would filter by client, and we'll do Aaron and Adam only.
Some other activity I think that you got in there, but.
I think so.
But Judy, so that would be a good report that would just give you your balance at any certain time without all the detail.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but there should be too because the balance sheet is just going to show the balance sheet summary for that account. So starting from there wouldn't be any better than the quick report on the account itself.
Right.
There is a custom summary report you could use to run. Let's just do it for today. Rows would be, I'm thinking customers.
Okay.
Columns would be, I can even do balance sheet accounts. Total only. And then I filter for that particular account.
Okay.
Although I don't know if you want to see the checking account and the liability and the trust asset account.
I don't think I like that report.
Because it takes so long to run, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the, I don't know what other reports would be good.
Okay.
You're not really doing invoicing yet at this point.
Right.
I mean, there's sales by customer summary. That's not really even, that's not going to show. We haven't done any sales to it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I wish I knew. She didn't really give, or he or she did not give, like, what are the reports we start with?
Right.
And then she filtered them. I mean, maybe started from the general ledger or from the balance sheet account and added some columns. I mean, we can definitely get this one, but it's more detail. And I know there's no way to automatically show the trust balance on the customer invoice. See, because they were doing like deposit the retainer settlement check into the bank account using the funds held in escrow liability to be the offsetting account, with the client name in the name field. So we get that using the make deposit form. I guess that's typical.
Yeah.
And write checks for any disbursements of those funds using the funds and escrow account on the expense tab of the check with the client name in the name field on that line. You can create, now if you want more detail, you can create separate items all pointing to that account
Okay.
to indicate what that paid out is for, insurance, taxes, fees, postage, whatever. Then if applicable, invoice the client for the professional fees, time or flat fee billing, and
I'd
any
like to do
advance
that
costs.
next. I was going to ask you about that.
Okay.
Create an invoice.
And then,
how that works.
yep, and then cut a check from the escrow account to the law firm
Right.
using the funds held in trust account on the expense tab of the check with the client name and the name field on that line.
Okay.
I guess for anything coming to the law firm from the
Right.
funds account. And then receive payment using the client name and attach that payment to the open invoice, and then deposit the funds into the operating checking account.
Yeah.
Right, from undeposited funds. Right, because the firm will have the operating checking account. Right. So I'm assuming that's a separate account from the ABC Trust bank account. Right.
Right. That would be
Yeah.
different.
Okay.
Judy, does that make sense to you? I mean, that makes sense to me. Those steps to record income.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much what we do now.
Yeah. Do you want Woody to walk through those steps within QBO, or are you good with just understanding the flow of it?
I mean, I think we're okay with understanding the flow because
Okay.
by the time we do it, I'll forget the steps anyway. So.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm going to send you this because it's from a larger this article. I mean, there's a video from Lean Law. Again, I know you're using Clio, but they have a hard way versus easy way, and I think from their marketing perspective, like hard way is doing it without Lean Law, right? And then easy way, right? So, but if you watch the hard way, it explains the steps, and then this person literally wrote the steps they're using, which sounds similar to what you're doing. That's typical. I just wish I had, and not knowing the types of reports, I don't have this, like, I've created a group of memorized reports, but I don't know the canned report, the source report she is starting from to then filter.
Okay.
Right.
That's the only problem. So at least, but I'll keep looking around and trying to see what it would be. I know at least doing a quick report from the chart of account will help for that, but that's a lot of detail as opposed to a summary.
Right.
So, all right, well, I'll make sure I include this, but let me go back. Let's go back to the hard costs.
Okay.
So, client hard costs on invoices. Now, invoices are item-based, right? So, customer invoice, it's not accounts, it's items linked to accounts. So, I'm assuming you're still invoicing Aaron.
Right.
And you're going to have to set up service items, like we had one for postage or whatever, but
Okay.
what do you want to see on the invoice that has to do with hard costs?
Well, first of all, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so let's just say we enter a bill. Judy, you enter your bills, right?
Right.
Okay, so they enter a bill for postage. That's for Aaron.
Right.
So whenever you go in to enter the bill, there's a field where you would put, that's the client that we'll eventually bill this to. Okay?
Oh, right.
Okay.
And
Well, let's do that. Let's align there
let's
first,
make
because
one of those.
that's different from items, because maybe you don't need items. Maybe it's just because wait, let me go here. I did want to show you that in the settings, you can change the customer label to clients.
Okay.
So,
What are the other options? Are matters?
well, I mean, I think it might help on reporting, or we'll see where it impacts. But for a law firm, it's not customers; it's clients. So there's 7 different labels. And for what Beth is just talking about is, did it not say? Let me come back quick. No, weird. What the tagging expense or the costs of the firm to get reimbursed or add to the final invoice to pass through any material expense or time, really, to the client is a default thing in QBO Plus. And there's expense settings. So again, you don't necessarily need to show items on purchase forms. You could turn that off and then you're only dealing with accounts, right? And that's one way to do it. Because I did mention this two-sided item thing where an item can hit expense as well as revenue. You can use it on a bill as well as a sales receipt or invoice. So I just don't know if items are pertinent for you all.
Yeah, so they would have postage for a lot of different clients. Would it make sense to have an item set up called postage? Because then you could have well, it really wouldn't go to an expense. It would go to that balance sheet account called hard costs.
Okay.
When paid, and then, because we don't really, I guess we don't need to go through a bill, but just that we write a check for postage for a client. So, Judy, on the hard cost account, would you need to know that was postage? I guess you would.
Yeah.
Ben, this is Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
I have a question. Now, just for the example that we're using right now, postage, that is normally done through a journal entry, which is a soft cost, and then when we actually write a check for court fee or whatever, then that becomes our hard cost. Now, is this operating different?
Well, okay, so I just picked postage as a hard cost. We could certainly use something else that is more frequently a hard cost,
Sure.
Closing costs or whatever. That was just an example. But and we do need to talk about the soft costs. But for the hard costs, closing costs. So once you're done with this, Woody, we can just write a check. So if you write a check to pay for a hard cost, does that come out of does that come out of the trust account?
No, that would come out of the operating.
Right,
and we would invoice the client.
Right, okay.
Right.
So we're going to write a check to
anybody, yeah.
I guess it doesn't matter, yeah, out of the operating account. And then it's going to be the hard cost category. And then in the description you could put, client, what did you say, Ron, that would typically be?
It could be like a filing fee.
A filing fee,
Something like that.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Filing fee. For Aaron, yeah. Okay, and 1,500 signed billable, yes, and then, yes, okay, that all looks good. Okay. And so then when you save that, okay.
I'm sorry. I had myself muted. Just the billable piece is a setting you turn on. You'd be using QBO Plus. It's going to, so that I can create an invoice against it. I'm going to pass this expense through to, I'm going to invoice Aaron for it, right? That's the goal.
Yes, and so you need QBO Plus to do that.
Right, exactly. Okay. Plus or advanced, plus probably be fine for what you're trying to do.
Okay.
All right, so that credited the checking account, it debited the other current asset for the client hard cost. So if I go look at that account, right, I have $1,500 balance. Or you could run a report, right, same kind of thing on it.
Okay.
Or from the balance sheet. If I just did a balance sheet, you would see, as of today, I would see in the client hard cost other current asset. So in the asset section, right, ABC trust accounting. That's funds. That's something different. Client hard costs. You'd have a number there, and then it's 1,500, which you could then drill down on to see the detail.
Okay, perfect.
So.
Okay. All right. So now let's invoice.
Okay.
Aaron. And so we want to invoice him for that $1,500 that we paid for him.
Okay, so when I put in Aaron's name here, a drawer's or a panel's gonna kick out on the right for anything tagged. There's the billable expense. So Judy would see, or Ron would see, all the postage, filing fees, time entry against the client, and then you can just pick and choose and add to the invoice. Okay. And so, so I get all that. Now there's still $4,000 in the trust account for Aaron. Okay. And so now we're finished with this account. We want to bill him for this $1,500. So Judy, would that $1,500 come out of the $4,000 that's left in retainer, or is that how that would work?
It depends on what the agreement is we have with the client.
Okay, let's just say that we're going to keep that the $4,000 is going to transfer is going to be a sale. That's going to be the revenue. So we're going to get $1,500 from Aaron for the card cost, plus we're going to keep the $4,000 that's still set up as a as a
It's another current liability.
Yeah. So that would actually be income.
Okay, but I'm trying to think. So you would see there's that 5,000 minus 1,000, so I have 4. Right.
And so let's
Now,
just say we want that to go into revenue, because we're going to keep that $4,000 and not give it back. And I think that's what that document you had, Woody, that was talking about the steps that you would go through. You would create an invoice to bill the client for the $4,000.
Invoice the client for the fees, right, and any advance costs previously paid out of the operating account.
Right. So
those are the ones we've tagged, right? That's the 1,500 as separate items. So you would create some items. You would use the product and service list. You create items linked to the appropriate account.
Okay.
But other than the 1,500, what else am I putting on this invoice?
Well, we wanted the $4,000 that's still in as a retainer. We want to take that out of the trust accounts as a retainer, and we want to bill the client for it.
Yeah, because normally, we would have time or something, and then we would invoice them for the time and the $1,500 cost.
Okay.
We would have the invoice, and then we try to check the trust.
Let's hold on this, because just to go over, so you would now time. Are you and Ron capturing time in Clio?
Yes, that's what we're going to do.
Now my guess is that will come over to like the weekly timesheet in QBO. I'm assuming that's how they integrate, because that's how most will do it. Okay. So if I'm choosing Aaron, and let's just say this is, but there has to, so that you would create items, because again, the timesheet is also item based. So you'd have some consulting or pretend it was, whatever you do, and then you'd put in you'd have your hourly rate, which you could, wait a minute. Where is the, right? So each lawyer would be on the list as either a vendor or an employee, depending, right? So I don't know how you set them up, as vendors or employees. I'm not sure, but they'd be up here, and then you would tag the customer or the project of the customer, and then you'd put in the time. So I don't know how many you would need to do, and then mark it billable, and you put in your hourly rate, because you're also going to want to create an invoice against that. So, but you wouldn't have to fill this out, because it's going to come in hitting all these fields from Clio.
Right.
Right. The only reason is, and I believe Clio with the integration will have a billable checkbox on their end.
Okay.
Good.
Go ahead. You say that, will you change the billable rate to $100?
Yep.
And then that'll make it $4,000.
Okay, perfect.
Here. So that's what we need to bill. Okay, perfect.
Now, time is non-posting until it goes on a document, but that's okay. All we're doing is creating this invoice, this final invoice.
Yeah.
So if I go to an invoice and put Aaron in here, now we will see not only the billable expense of $1,500, but also the time.
Right. Okay.
Right.
And Judy, you can filter like, I just want to look at the time against and just see it in the panel, or you want to look at just the hard costs that are not yet been invoiced. Uninvoiced charges is what I think of them, but anyway, it's just semantics, right? So we're going to add them all. It's $5,500, and I just haven't created a product service for the filing fee, but it comes over from the description, so at least they can see it. Now, are you bleeding out the $4,000 from the retainer on this too?
Yeah, that's what we would do.
Okay. So what you also need is an item, and I think I already have it. I just haven't linked, but you would create an item called just a service item, and this would be like funds.
Income account?
Funds held. Well, I'm going to be linking it to the other current liability. So it's a single-sided item linked to the funds account, that other current liability.
I was thinking that when we wrote check out of the trust account for $4,000. Oh, no, yeah, you're right.
Well, the only problem, why I have to do this is because invoices are item-based, and I can't put an account on there. So
no, that's fine. That's fine.
So some people will use this customer deposit, but I think I'm still having problems finding this account for whatever reason. Where are you? What was it, 1950 or something? There you are. So you link the item here. It's not a two-sided item. You don't turn on any purchase info. It's just the revenue side. And then yeah, okay, good. And you put in whatever description you want or leave it blank. Right. You don't need a SKU or class or anything like that. So this item I would use then on the invoice as a -1 because I'm debiting the current liability. So I have to, and this is the credit area of a form, so double crediting is a debit, if that makes any logical sense, maybe.
It does, yeah.
Okay, so funds held, and then it's going to be, or just do -4,000. So now I have a $1,500 invoice.
And which is correct because that's all that they do owe, yeah.
Right, and then that's what they would owe in the received payment. So if I save this, now this will definitely look at the transaction journal. Because for a couple times you're going to make sure accounting-wise the debits and credits line up as you would expect. So I have a debit to AR, which is correct because they owe you $1,500.
Right.
There's no sales tax here at this point, but if you would turn sales tax on, that would be credited, right? So I don't know if you guys do sales tax for this stuff, but if you do, it would just be, okay. You would see a credit line. Services, that's revenue, 4K. So on the P&L, you're going to see income for 4K.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a billable expense income for the client fees for $1,500. And again, the income accounts you would just choose in the item setup. So mine's probably not going to look like what yours will look like. But there is that key. We're debiting the $4,000 for the funds held in trust, which then, at least for Aaron, he'll have no more escrow balance.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Adam still does, but Aaron doesn't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a open invoice, so it has not been paid. So if you look on an accrual basis balance sheet, you'll see AR, and there'll be some aging, depending. And then you receive a payment against it like you would anything else. Yeah, go ahead.
Before you move on,
yeah.
Just so I'm clear, the third line down with the $1,500, that credit should hit that balance sheet account that's accumulating the hard costs?
Oh, so I need to, then the item, client filing fee. So we do need an item for this to create an item that's hitting
the hard cost?
Yeah, so like you'd have to create a filing fee, service items called, for all the fees that you're expecting. Filing, postage, whatever the different services you provide through time, and then you would hit the other current asset.
Mm-hmm.
I think, is it client hard costs?
That's it, yeah.
I believe it's in the sales section. It wouldn't be down in the purchase section because I'm using this on invoices.
Yeah.
Right, because that area of the invoice would be credited.
Right.
So I need to go back to the billable expense, and I would use an item here.
Instead of in the account?
Well, actually, it is in the account. That's fine, because this is fine. Yeah, this is still fine. Nothing changes there. It's just because the item's linked to that account, so it doesn't matter how I pull from it. It's just that I have to here, I need to do the
item.
Right, I guess I have to have the item. Maybe I did need that. 1,500. Let me just save it and see.
I didn't know about this screen right here that lays out the journal entry. I like that.
Well, it helps for me to make sure the T-chart's lining up, or else it's easy to tell the story. So client hard costs is 1,500 credited. Right, that's the asset account, so it's not income. So the only income with the services from the, the time, I guess. Right, time would be, okay.
Yes.
AR, so, and we know the AR is only 1,500 because we took 4,000 out from the escrow. So now you would just, receive payment, and you would put in the client, because now it's an open invoice that you can then send, or you can turn on QuickBooks payments and they can pay by credit card or ACH or whatever. There's
and
that whole
1,500.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should see an invoice for 1,500 here.
Right. So then, so I get that. So we'll send that out. We'll get a payment and apply it. But we need to I guess really just do a transfer or write a check out of the escrow bank account into the operating bank account to transfer the funds, because we've taken care of the escrow liability.
So am I receiving payment here, or is there some other process before you receive the payment?
I thought that we were supposed to write a check.
Yeah, we would write a check out of trust.
Out of trust.
And then deposit it in operating and apply it to this invoice we created.
But the invoice is only showing it receivable of $1,500 instead of $5,500.
Okay, Beth, is the $4,000 going to be a professional fee income?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have a general ledger account for professional fees, but at some point you have to break that out by attorney.
You have to. Did you say that break out that fee by attorney?
Yes, correct.
You probably would need a separate income account for each attorney.
Or you could use class tracking, or because it's a P&L, so you could do P&L by class. Class would be attorney. So you have a class.
Is anything else broken out by attorney, Ron, or just revenue?
Just revenue.
Yeah, so it might make sense just to have separate income accounts for each.
Yeah, sub-accounts, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever. Again, that would be all your guys' decision. I'm just throwing out different options that I've heard that people use.
Yeah, that's good.
So do you receive a payment? Because I against the invoice, because this will then credit the AR and debit undeposited funds, and then you would deposit it into the operating account. So I guess I just don't understand the writing the check against the operating account before you receive the payment.
Well, it's really, for the $4,000, it's really a transfer from one bank account to another bank account is basically what it is.
Okay. But I could do a journal entry for that, or a transfer.
Yeah.
I could use a transfer.
Yeah, I think that we need
Like,
I think
you could do
a transfer.
Transfer, which is a thing, and it would be from the trust account?
From the trust account to the operating account.
But then would we still have to write a check out of the trust account to deposit in the operating account?
Okay, so let's don't do transfer. Let's write a check.
Okay. I haven't received payment because that's just $1,500. That's different. Actually, that's probably just different. I'll just save it. It don't matter. It's just I'm receiving payment from Aaron. The AR's gone down now, and I've debited undeposited funds, so I can go make a deposit. And it'll just be one of the deposits in the lump sum.
For the $1,500.
Right, for the $1,500. Now this other part, the check to do the quote-unquote transfer. So forgive me for the generic nature, but I just want to, this is
That's
just,
fine. Yeah.
it makes sense. And then we're crediting the trust account.
Correct.
And then we're hitting
the operating.
Oh, okay, on a check. Yeah, so that's interesting. I've never done that accounting move before. There it is. Here we go. Whoops, wrong one. Checking. And it's going to be $4,000. Now let me save this.
And you would put the client number,
Oh,
name?
right. Would I do it here or in the description, I guess?
Well, we would want it, I guess it doesn't really,
Normally, Beth, we would want it as many places as we can get it.
Yeah. But I don't think it's linked to anything.
Right.
Because we've already taken care of the...
Okay.
Okay.
So I just want to save this and then see what it did.
Let's see what it looks like.
Let's see here. It should be the check. Oh, and by the way, left-clicking in the search field at the top right is always the last 10 transactions that were done. So that's why I keep going there, so I don't have to then go to some other window. You know what I mean?
Okay.
More transaction journal, right? So the operating account just increased by $4K, and the trust account, the asset account, decreased by $4. I mean, the trust account. Yeah.
Okay, so that's correct.
Okay.
All right. And so if we receive that $1,500 check from Aaron, then his AR should be 0. The trust account, bank account should be reduced by $4,000. The liabilities reduced by $4,000.
Yeah, see, so when you change that label to clients, you'll see clients. And then if I look at Aaron, there is an open, right, for other stuff. So I should have used a totally new customer or client. But anyway, you'd see the open overdue balance. Yeah. And also on the balance sheet as of today, I would see, balance sheet by, I guess you could do kind of clients. And then maybe as of today. But not all the time does it, we'll see what. what it shows. Because the AR for Aaron, unless there is an open balance from other stuff, but it would be zero, you know, if these are clients and they have nothing else open. Sorry, it's just year to date. It's a lot of data, so it's going to take a while to load. But
while that's doing, okay, that's what I wanted to look at right there. Okay, so going to check from the escrow account using the funds held in escrow expense account, and see, this does the receive payment. So the step that we did where we set up the $4,000, the retainer thing as an item, I think that's different than what.
let me look at today.
I don't know.
Let me see what
I think what we did worked, but I'm not sure if that's the best way. Does that make sense to you, Judy and Ron, that the way that we did that?
I see what you did.
On the 4,000,
yeah.
Typically, we're going to write a check from trust. Anything we do with trust, we'll write a check. So it does make sense to me.
Yeah. Okay, so then just writing the check like you did and the offset account being the operating account, then that should be fine. You make the deposit and that's fine. I think that works.
Client hard cost is zero now.
Perfect.
Okay. I know this file I use for everything, so there's a bunch of garbage in here, and you know you'd have a nice clean chart of accounts, and so you would see it there. You
Trust account has $2,500, which is our other dude.
Right, Adam.
Adam.
And I'm trying to display columns by client, though that will be a really wide report. It's probably why it's struggling. You might, if you're doing AR, then the customer balance summary report might be helpful, or running a quick report on any of the accounts, but that's detail. I'm still not sure the best way to get a summary report for you.
Yeah.
I know he or she had also mentioned that there's no way to automatically show the trust balance on the client invoice. Like you won't see it as a balance.
Okay. I don't know that they would want that on an invoice.
Okay.
And then the trust balance on an invoice to a client. Yeah, we don't show that now.
Okay,
anyways.
good.
Yeah.
That's just a optional note. She does a custom field and enters it in there manually, but that's if you put the amount remaining in the memo field, it won't print on the invoice, but it will show on statements in the customer center. So sometimes using memo could be helpful too. So if I filter by these two customers, or clients I should say, see how changing that label, you'll see client all over, and that's probably better for you all as opposed to just customer, which is kind of generic.
Yeah.
If I look at these two, I'd be able to see the asset account amounts.
Okay.
This would be today, accrual basis, the hard costs. I don't have any hard costs for Adam. I did have some for this. And then, but again, you're going to see a bunch of liabilities and equity too.
Hey, I see $1,500 in undeposited funds. Did you receive that payment? I didn't.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I click on it, you'll see the
got it.
right there from Aaron.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The customer record would show deposits too. So if you go to the customer record, or the client record, I should say, and look at the transaction list, you can filter for all plus deposits. So there's a deposit of $5K, right? I would see that here, a payment of $1,500, an invoice of $1,500. And you can filter by, this would be today or this week or whatever. And that's what we've done for Aaron, right? So it's a snapshot of the time entry, the billable expense that we passed through, the invoice, the payment, and then the deposit that we started with to the other current liability. So you can see that here too, as well as there's also a deposit detail report that you could run. Now, what about local or location utilization for billing?
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
I think I asked about the first two, but I don't think I asked about the.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds really cool, but I don't know.
It does.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.